Hi guys, today I'm doing an updated video that a lot of you got. Ow, I hit myself on the. Ow. I'm doing a video a lot of you guys actually have been requesting. I've done 2 of these before and I thought I would do a new one. This is a what to watch on Netflix video. Now I have 2 prior ones, so make sure you go check those out. I might have some repeats, but I also have some new things and I didn't repeat everything. And I have millions of shows I could recommend to you to watch. Not all of them are obviously on Netflix, and since Netflix is probably the most popular streaming platform in my opinion, I thought I would talk about some shows. Some are definitely brand new and some aren't. And I'm sure more are coming out after I film this. I'm filming this mid-May, so these are things that are all on Netflix at this moment. I tried to update some of my old videos description boxes in case things weren't on it anymore, but let's get into it. I will try to describe these shows a little bit and kind of their vibes, just so you can kind of see if it's your kind of thing. Number 1, these are completely out of order, but is Legacies. Legacies is a second spin-off of Vampire Diaries and then the originals. If you're not into that world, you're not going to really like this. I feel like you didn't have to watch the originals and the Vampire Diaries to watch this, but kind of did, because it does bring back some other things. It introduces a lot of new stuff, but if you like the vibe that those shows give off and like the magic and just like the filming and all that stuff, then you will definitely like Legacies. It's kind of just like a new generation, but not copycat. It's not, you know, taking everything that happened in the prior shows and bringing it in with new characters. It's actually brand new. So I really, really love that, and that is, the first season is on Netflix. There's only 1 right now. If you didn't get into it while it was airing, now would be a good time before season 2, because they did get picked up for season 2. Next is Dead to Me. Oh my god, this show is so good. It's a Netflix original. I think there's only 8 episodes maybe 10, but it went by super fast. I watched it in 1 day. It has Christina Applegate and that girl who I can never remember her name, and then it has James Marsters in it. It's a dark comedy and I love that kind of stuff. It's a quick thing to kind of get through. Did they get picked up for season 2? I'm not sure, but I feel like they probably will. It's really good. I mean, I thought my mom and dad would like it. My mom says my dad wouldn't like it. It's kind of, not, I don't want to say it's a girly show. I don't really think there's such a thing, but it is about female friendship, so I do think plenty of guys would like it, but it's not like a manly show, whatever that means, you know what I mean? It's like about female friendship. It's essentially about one woman who lost her husband and she makes friends with someone else who kind of carries her through her mourning and kind of gets involved in her life and with her family until lots of stuff happens. And it's like dramatic, and dramatic things happen, and it's emotional. Like, you cry at certain times, but you also crack up and like pee your pants. So, okay, another one, it is also a dark comedy, is Afterlife with Ricky Gervais. He wrote it, directed it, starred in it, and they did get picked up for season 2. This is awesome. If you like Ricky Gervais's comedy in his stand-up or anything he does, you'll like this. I find him to be so refreshing in an area that kind of doesn't want to push boundaries. He pushes the boundaries, but he doesn't go over them. It's like, if this is the boundaries, he goes like this, but he doesn't go like that. Does that make sense? Like, I feel like he knows what people find funny, but he also doesn't go over the line in like a weird, uncomfortable way. I thought it was hilarious. This show is about a man who loses his wife and he's trying to kind of go on with his life without her, and he's miserable, and it kind of has his boring, dull, everyday life, but it's hilarious. It's just like so good. It is so good. You can watch it in 1 day. It's fantastic. Next is Supergirl, which again is something I feel like a lot of people would kind of like roll their eyes at, but it's not like a childish show. It's just, honestly, I originally wanted to watch it because they announced that Chris Wood was going to be in season 2, who is now engaged to the main character, Melissa Benoist. Like, what? This whole world. Supergirl is, I think there's 4 or 5 seasons. I think only 4 of them are on Netflix. I might be wrong. I think it did get picked up for another season, and it's essentially Supergirl, who is Superman's cousin, and kind of her life, but it's not the exact same story, and I just think the acting's really good. I think it's the kind of show that's really great for anyone who's a teenager through however old you are. I'm in my late 20s, and I love it so much. I think it's a refreshing, it's like a feel-good show, but it also really exposes a lot of true things that are going on in the world right now. Things like race issues, things like politics, feminism. They have a trans superhero, which is awesome. There's a lot of shows now, and I think you guys know what I'm talking about, in movies even, you know that Hollywood is taking like, you know, let's take this strong female character, and like feminism, and they're just kind of throwing out these buzzwords, but I feel like this show doesn't do that. This show is really authentic in its use of these minorities, I guess, if that's the right word, and I really, really think it does such a good job, and it's just so authentic and genuine feeling. You can feel the love between the cast when you watch, so I totally recommend that one. And then that one also does go in with like The Flash and Arrow and all those other kind of, I think it's DC comics from CW, but that's the only one I actually watch. Next is Series of Unfortunate Events, which I would highly recommend if you are in your 20s. If you grew up reading these books, I only read a couple of them as a kid, but when I was watching this show, there's like, I don't know how to describe it. There's moments that I read this book when I was probably 9, and I was watching this show thinking, I remember these specific words. Like, I remember this so specifically, and it's refreshing, and the acting is great, and you can see that they had so much production value. Neil Patrick Harris plays Count Olaf, and it's about 3 orphans who have this big fortune that they get when they turn 18, I guess, and this guy who wants to take the money from them, so he keeps trying to kidnap them, I guess, and they have to go through lots of different avenues and different people to take care of them as they're trying to escape Count Olaf. And it's funny, and it's hilarious, and it's heartbreaking, and it's just so good. There's so many guest stars on this show, and each one was cast perfectly. Next is Containment. Okay, Containment is a limited series. I think it only has 10 episodes. It was on CW, starring Chris Wood, who I'm in love with. Sorry, Melissa Benoist, but I mean, you can't blame me. I could say right now it's not a show for the faint of heart. It is pretty gruesome in some ways. It's about Atlanta, Georgia gets hit with a disease that is highly contagious, so they contain the city so that no one from the city can contaminate anyone outside. And the death that comes with this disease is brutal. You like vomit blood, and like your eyes start bleeding, and like it's pretty intense, and it's kind of what you would expect to happen if that were to happen in real life. It is people, you know, form gangs, they buy all the food and try to sell it at higher prices, and they go against each other and they kill over things, and, you know, there's elderly people who can't get access to medicine they need, and, you know, people are running out of food, and there's relationships that form, and there's cops that are dealing with other cops outside, and how someone outside has a fiance or a girlfriend inside, and like do you want to get in to be with her? Do you want to get her out? It's so powerful. I mean, it is the kind of what thing you will cry during every single episode, but it's also so intense. I really wish they had a season 2. But it still ended, I think, pretty well. Like, I think the last episode was very true to the whole show. It didn't feel rushed or anything. So I really recommend. I mean, that show, it's so good. I need to watch it again. I think I've only watched it twice now. Next is Roswell. But Roswell is the kind of newer version of the old Roswell. It's Roswell, New Mexico now. And it has the guy from the originals who was married to Haley. His actor's name is Nathan Pearsons, something like that. And it has Michael Vlamis, who is literally the best actor ever. It's about kind of 3 sibling aliens, and kind of they have to hide that, but they also kind of want to know who they are. And it has a really nice romance, and it's just really good. I'm so glad I started watching it because it's one of my favorites now. Like, they did such a good job this season, and they got picked up for season 2, so awesome. Dexter is a great show. I mean, if you were considering watching it, watch it. I don't think it's the kind of thing, I mean, I guess some people could rewatch it. I've only watched it all through once, I think, and that was enough. It's kind of like burned in my brain now. Quite a few seasons, and it does take a while to get through, but it's really enjoyable. And if you like binging something, like having that same show to really like count on, that's a really good one. Yes, it's kind of brutal, and there's like, it's about a serial killer, but who only kills bad people, but it's way more intense than that. Okay, Shameless. The American version is all that I've seen, and it's so good. It's like, I don't say it's a dark comedy, but it's like a realistic, not realistic. It's like realistic in one way, but then it's also kind of like over the top. But it's about a family whose father is an alcoholic, and it deals with addiction and poverty and gangs and like lots of things that a lot of shows don't show the true side of. And I'm not saying this is true, like these things really happen, but it kind of shows a lot of stuff that other shows don't show, in my opinion. It's about a whole family, and it's really funny and weird, but also like pretty serious, and there's moments you cry and laugh, and it's kind of like a well-rounded show, in my opinion. And there's one more season. They're going into their final season, I believe. Weeds is a really funny show. It's also kind of that same vibe of Shameless. It has, you know, serious moments, and it has lots and lots of comedy. It's about a woman whose husband dies, and she now has to take care of her family, and she decides the way to do that is to sell weed. And it kind of goes from this housewife selling weed to like the neighbors to something way more intense, and it gets more and more intense as it goes, and it's really, really interesting. Okay, next, the originals, which obviously in Vampire Diaries, those go hand in hand. They're both completely on Netflix, completely like episode 1 to the final episode. First Vampire Diaries and then originals. I mean, if you really want to do it right, you would watch the Vampire Diaries until the original starts, which I can't remember exactly what episode it is, but they give you like an intro to the originals. There's an episode that's like all the originals of the Vampire Diaries, and that's like also the first episode of the originals. So what you would do at that point, because they do have overlapping episodes and characters from each show kind of go on to other shows sometimes, so you might want to go like, you know, here's Vampire Diaries, this is when the original starts, so then you might want to watch like one episode of the originals, one of Vampire Diaries, because that's kind of how it aired. And then when Vampire Diaries ended, there was one more season of the originals, and then Legacy started when that ended. So you might want to do it in that order. I mean, you could just obviously watch all of Vampire Diaries and then all of the originals and kind of figure out where things went hand in hand. Riverdale. Okay, Riverdale, as much as I want to recommend it, I also feel like I shouldn't. Because it's kind of like if you watched Pretty Little Liars, it has that same kind of like, what? This is unbelievable. There's so much stuff happening. Even when they come out and announce who the killer is, you can't even figure it out if it made sense or not, because so many things happened. It's very dark and twisted, but it also has that Archie comic kind of vibe to it still, in my opinion anyway. It has this like homie like wearing a Letterman jacket and like, you know, things like that. But it also has this like super twisted darkness with serial killers and gangs, and it's pretty intense. And I think it's going into season 4, and I mean, it's really good and I really enjoy watching it, but it's super weird. It's not something everyone will like. I mean, who hasn't already watched this? I watched it when it was on Lifetime before it made it to Netflix, and I guess now the next season will be on Netflix. And that stars, what is his name? His name is not Dan Humphrey. That's who he played on Gossip Girl. It is about a crazy stalker, lunatic, psycho who you are kind of rooting for to get this girl that he really, really likes, and yet even though we know he's like a crazy psycho person who kills people, we still kind of want him to end up with this girl. I don't know why we do, but we do. The reason I actually started watching this is because John Stamos is in it, but he's only in like the last 4 episodes or something, which is a bummer. But, you know, if you like John Stamos, it's worth it. It's a good show, obviously. People are obsessed with it, and it is coming for season 2, which I think will be weird, and I'm kind of bummed about, because I really liked... Actually, I can't tell you that, because, I will ruin it. I don't want any spoilers, so... Yeah, You is a good show if you like that kind of dark, twisted kind of voiceover narration stuff, because that's literally what it is. Insatiable. This is, again, not everyone's cup of tea. I actually did a whole video talking about Insatiable, which I will link below if I remember, or you could just search it on my channel, but I kind of did a reaction to it, because so many people came out being like, this is so horrible, like, blah blah blah, saying how it was, like, fat shaming, although, you know, I don't even want to get into the rant that I did in that video, but essentially, anyone who was criticizing this show, I feel like didn't actually watch it. You might look at the commercial, and I do want to say the commercial for that show is not the best example of what the show actually is. It's about a girl who lost a bunch of weight, and now, you know, she's beautiful and confident and stuff, but she's really not, and I feel like that's what it shows. A lot of people think like it's about a girl who was fat and lost weight, and that she's amazing now and she can do anything she wants, but that's not actually what it's about. Like, that's kind of like, if you really roughly describe it, what you could say it's about, but it's not. It's about a girl who does lose all this weight, but that doesn't change who you are. She's still uncomfortable. She's still not sure how she feels about herself or what she wants, and is uncomfortable about how people feel about her now. Like, she's struggling with that, and I find it really realistic, because just because you lose weight, change something about your body that you don't like, doesn't mean that your insecurities go away. I think it's a really fantastic show. It's hilarious. I mean, it is so freaking funny and shocking and really well written, and it's coming back for season 2, and Alyssa Milano's in it, and Debbie Ryan, who's the main character. It's really, really, really good. Like, honestly, I think that if you like my channel, I feel like you'll like it. Next, New Girl. No kidding. Also, obviously, Friends and The Office, like Parks and Rec. Do I really have to talk about those? I feel like who hasn't watched those? Give them all a chance if you like a good comedy that's like a real lighthearted show for the background. New Girl is one of my favorites. I really like it. I feel like it's a really great show about friendship, and it's like a modern day Friends where there's groups, like, or certain couples in the group that you're rooting for the whole series, that kind of thing. So if you watched Friends and you're like, okay, now what? it's kind of like a modern day Friends. Master of None with Aziz Ansari, really, really good. I do think it was canceled after 2 seasons. I'm like 90% sure. It's really good. It's kind of like a really well thought out comedy, if you want something like that. Like, it's not just like a comedy sitcom. It's not a sitcom. It's like really, really, really well done, if that makes sense. Supernatural. If you really want to get into something, Supernatural has like 15 or 16 seasons to get through, and they're all like 22 episodes, so it's good. It's about 2 brothers who pretty much fight evil. That's the essential, you know, ghosts, demons, angels. I mean, it's pretty intense, and it's really good. There's like hilarious moments, but there's also like super deep moments, and I mean, I can't recommend it enough, but it's very, very, very long. Like I said, I mean, it'll take you a year to get through it, but if you want that, cool. Santa Clarita Diet, which was just canceled, and I'm furious. Drew Barrymore, and I can't remember the guy's name. It's a zombie comedy, and it's amazing. It's, oh my god, it's like a family sitcom, but with zombies, and it's just, it's so good. It's really, really good. Like, I don't know how they came up with the idea for this, because it's just really not predictable. And I love that. I just think it's so good. There's 3 seasons to watch now if you want. You can get through it actually pretty quickly, and I really enjoyed that show. Like, I wish they did not cancel it. But I think that's actually all I have right now. So, yeah. I hope you guys enjoyed this and you got some inspiration or recommendations. Like I said, if you didn't in here, there are 2 other videos I have where I can recommend stuff to watch on Netflix. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to give it a thumbs up, and I'll see you next time.